Well, now some of you folks may wonder, why bother with all this trouble of growing stuff when you can just go to the produce section of your store and buy something. I remember I had an uncle who, I think my mother was talking to him about growing some food and having a little garden. And his response was something like, "Why should I bother? They have a garden right there for me in the produce section of the grocery store." And then looking at it, he said, "See, they water it, they tend it, they put the food in here, put the produce in here. That's my garden, the produce section of the grocery store." And I guess there is something to that. But there's just some satisfaction out of growing your own stuff, because it's something accomplished, and you know where it came from, and you know what pesticides and things like that are in it or are not in it. And let me show you one of the reasons you get such satisfaction out of this is I don't know, about a couple of months ago I pulled one of the plants out here that overwintered, and it was in January. Let me show you what plant that was. Well, it's the 12th, I think, the 12th of January today, and I haven't been doing much in the greenhouse because of the cold weather. Tonight, it got down to, I think, 11 degrees Fahrenheit outside, and in here, even with no heat and so forth, it got down to, the little recording thermometer said it got down to 23. So it even freezes in here. But there's some things that, even though you get freezing temperatures, they do quite well. These don't. I've got to clean this up, but these are tomatoes. And they died a long time ago. But some of these little tomatoes look like they're still edible. But anyway, I'll try that later. But these tomatoes and these tomatoes, I've got to clean this all up. But let me show you something here that does make it through the winter, and actually you can keep it in the ground. Right here, I've got a little container full of beets, and as you can see, they're not very big, but they got purple leaves, most of them, and there's some with some green leaves back here. But these I planted in the fall, and they didn't get very far, but they're still alive, and what they'll do is they'll start growing. When the weather warms up, they'll start growing and start getting bigger. Now here's some fairly big ones that I left in here, and there we go. Let me pull that one out for you. I already pulled that one out earlier, but I thought I'd put it back in. But you see, there's another one back there too. See? Now look at the size of that. That's pretty decent size beet, and that's enough for a good sized dinner here. And what happens is these can stay in this container all winter long, even though it's freezing in here sometimes. It doesn't seem to hurt them. It's kind of like cold storage, I guess. So what I might do next year is what I did here last year, plant a bunch of beets in this place over here, and just let them grow, and then, I don't know, sometime in early summer or springtime, these ought to be big enough to eat too. So anyway, you don't have to let the greenhouse just do nothing in the wintertime. You can still come out here and dig up beets. And here they are, all sliced up and ready to cook. I think these are bull's blood beets. I think that's what they call them. But look at that. Look how nice that is. And see, there's nothing wrong with it. Of course, beets need to be cooked. And so what we're going to do is cook these up. And I'm going to have them for breakfast. Look at that. That's nice. Okay, so there they are, all done. What I've got here is those beets. Let me just stab one here. Anyway, take a look at that. Oh, look at that. Isn't that? It's just delicious. Anyway, I've got beets, sauerkraut, and sausage, and cheese, melted cheese. And boy, this is good. Delicious. Oh, those are absolutely delicious. And they're garden fresh. in January the 12th, I think. Middle of winter. So that's why I like to grow things in this greenhouse of mine, because, you know, I just picked that beet right out of here, went right in there and cooked it. It's fresh. It's right out of the garden. You can't get that even in the produce department at your local grocery store. And the other thing, to answer my uncle's little opinion that the produce department was his garden, there are many things that you can grow that are not in the produce department. Fresh okra comes to mind. I guess some produce departments may have that, but most of the time they don't. And you can grow that in here, and it grows really nice. And fresh okra right out of the garden is absolutely delicious. There's also many, many kinds of tomatoes that you can't find in the produce department in the store. Usually in the produce department in the store, you'll find Roma tomatoes and some kind of slicing tomato like a beefsteak or something like that. And then you might find some kind of a cherry tomato. You usually won't find any other kinds, but there are dozens of different kinds of tomatoes. There's Brandywine, Rutgers, there's Ukraine, all kinds of tomatoes with different kinds of flavors. Usually you won't find that in the produce department. And there's a lot of other things that you won't find in the produce department that you can grow in a greenhouse and you can enjoy every day. And one more thing, you know, for these beets that I was going to grow, I've already planted some here for next year. Let me show you. Here are some beets that I've transplanted in here. You can see one here and here and there. And these are for my next year's overwinter crop, or maybe even for this year sometime. And here's a bunch of volunteers that I didn't even plant. But they're here. I'm going to let them grow up a little bigger, and then I'll transplant them out to distribute them a little better. But these are going to be beets that we're going to eat in the winter time, or in the other, or when overwinter them and eat them next spring. As you can see, I've got some out there still to eat in there, and then that one I showed you earlier right here. Those are still good for eating. And this is this year's crop. These are, as you can see, not real big yet, but they will get big in, I don't know, a couple of months, and I'll be able to start pulling those out and eating them, and they'll be absolutely delicious.